you too will come to understand fear as I have.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Let's Play Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. Eternal Darkness is a 2002 horror-themed action-adventure game, and it was developed by Silicon Knights and published by Nintendo. Now this is a very special game to me. I like this game a whole lot, and I've been waiting for the right time to come and play it for all of you. Silicon Knights is also one of the people that was responsible for the Legacy of Kain series of games. And I'm also very fond of that game. If you've seen me play the Legacy of Kain series, you know that I particularly like it because of the dialogue and the voice actors. And Eternal Darkness has some great dialogue and some great voice actors in on it. In fact, as we go through the game, I have some notes here about the different characters and who they're voiced by and some of their work. Now, a lot of them you may actually recognize if you just hear them, but if not, I'll be sure to tell you a little bit about them. Now, because I'm one of those fools that believes in full disclosure, I want to let you know that when I was getting ready to play this game, I found out that all my data on my Nintendo GameCube memory card was erased. Well, actually it was corrupted, and then it got erased, so I was out of luck. But I've already played through the game 2 times, and now we're going to go through a 3rd playthrough. I did this for a couple of reasons, because on the 3rd playthrough is when everything starts to come together. Also, each playthrough unlocks additional content for the game, so at the end of this playthrough, we'll unlock everything altogether. So, what do you say we start a game? Alright, you have previously completed Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem with the following alignments: Chattur'gha and Ulyaoth. Now if you look, Chattur'gha is in red and Ulyaoth is in blue. That becomes important pretty quickly in the game as we learn about who and what those beings are. But we do want this information to carry over to our new game.
Flesh, bone, bound together with the oddest magical incantation. This wretched book is where it all began so long ago. Before time, before humanity. I am Dr. Edward Roivas. I am a clinical psychologist. I am also dead. This is not my story, nor even the story of the Roivas family. It is the story of humanity. Like it or not, believe it or not, as you will. Your perceptions will not change reality, but simply color it. Humanity has been on the edge of extinction for 2 millennia, ignorant of so much and dependent on so few. The Guardians grow restless, their time once again near. Whether by fate or misfortune, my family has crossed their path, and they didn't take kindly to it.
Alright, there is a lot of dialogue in this game.
To my granddaughter.
I'm going to try not to talk over
She
to
is
too
the
much of it.
last of my line, and the last hope for humanity.
Alright, so the game kind of just throws you right in. We're in a room surrounded by monsters. Now, if this is the first time you're playing, you'd probably be surprised and have no clue what you're doing. I have a little bit of an idea of what I'm doing. Now, you may notice that I sometimes stop and an enemy becomes highlighted. I can then aim at different parts of their body. Now, depending on the enemy that you're dealing with, you'll have different effects going after different parts of their body.
Remember me, Alex?
Alright, so here's our main protagonist.
Hello?
Miss Alexandra Roivas?
Yeah, who's this?
This is Inspector LaGrasse of the Rhode Island Police. I'm sorry to disturb you, but there's been an accident with your grandfather.
I'll be on the next flight out.
Alright, the Roivas family estate in Rhode Island.
Ah, Miss Roivas. I'm pleased to meet you. I trust you had a pleasant trip?
Yes, I suppose so, considering.
Yes, my condolences. This is most unpleasant. It's a shame we couldn't meet under brighter circumstances.
Yes, it is. Can we get this over with, please?
Of course. This way. But I must warn you, it's not a pleasant sight.
For those of you curious, I do not know who is voicing the detective here.
I'm afraid there's not much to see.
And I understand he was supposed to be a bigger part of the game in earlier designs. But in the finalized version, this is pretty much all he does.
Is that your grandfather, Edward?
Yes, it's him. He's wearing our family ring. I don't understand. Why are you showing me this? Can't you check dental records or something? What is wrong with you?
I'm sorry. It's my job, lady. You're the only living relative, and no, we can't check dental records. There's no head. Ah, none of this makes sense. There's no sign of intrusion, and there was certainly a lot of force used here. I have never seen anything like this in my 20 years on the force. We have no evidence except for the body, and what's left doesn't say much. Ugh, we don't have a single clue.
Well, you better find out who did this. I'm not leaving Rhode Island until you do. There must be some clue in this old mansion revealing what happened. I want answers.
So do I. I wish I had some.
Alright, 2 weeks later. Frustrated by her grandfather's mysterious death. Shocked by her grandfather's mysterious death and frustrated at the incompetence of the local police, Alex vows to uncover the truth. She decides to search the mansion, the place where Edward conducted his research. If there was a tie to his past, and possibly a tie to his murder, it would be here. Alright, so we are playing Alex Roivas, and she is voiced by Jennifer Hale. Now, Jennifer Hale, you can hear all over the place. She's in video games and cartoons everywhere. Now, I did note some of her Some of her more famous characters that she's played, for example, in the Metal Gear Solid games, she was both Naomi Hunter and Emma Emmerich. And for those of you who are aware, she was the voice of Samus Aran. Now, she was also Bastilla Shawn in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic games. In fact, she showed up in a lot of those Star Wars games. And for something a little more contemporary, she was Commander Shepard in the Mass Effect games. But to me, she'll always be Ivy from Where on Earth is Carmen Sandiego. As for her grandfather's voice actor, well, I'll talk about him a little bit more later. Right now it's time to start searching the mansion. A beautiful carriage clock. The hands appear to be stuck, yet the clock continues to tick, with the time permanently set to 3:33. There's a key in the back of the clock, presumably for winding it. Should Alex look at the key? Well, yes, she should. Alex picks up the desk clock and pulls the key from it. However, there's something odd about it. It isn't for winding at all. It looks like a dresser key. Alright, well, we got a key to a dresser, so that might be important at some point. Actually, the clock was stopped at 3:33. When she woke up, her digital clock was also stopped at 3:33. Portraits of the ancestral Roivas line, the foyer walls. Their faces reveal a dark, brooding edge. There's something about each one that gives the viewer an unsettling feeling. Alright, well, you know what? Let's get ahead a little bit and hit start. This brings us to our inventory. Use. This function allows the manipulation of inventory items within the current room. Equip. This function allows the current character to ready a weapon. Check. This function allows the examination of objects within the inventory. Pressing L and R allows switching back and forth between sections within the interface. So, we can press the wrong button and leave the menu. Check the dresser key. It appears to be the key to a chest of drawers or a dresser. This is the key to the second floor of the Roivas mansion. It looks very old and worn. Well, what do you say we head upstairs and try using that key? Now right now I'm just kind of casually strolling around, but if I hold down the L trigger, we'll start running. The door is locked. Well, let's use the key. The key comes apart in the lock. The key to the second floor is broken. Perhaps there's a way of repairing it. And now we have the broken second floor key. This will unfortunately happen a number of times during the course of the game, where items will break, and we will have to find ways to repair them. Let's actually go back to the menu, and I'm going to hit R. This brings us to the map. I usually don't check out the map too often, but once in a while we'll want to come in here and look at it. If I hit R again, we're going to go to the journal. The journal has two options, cinemas and autopsies. Now autopsies we'll look at a little later. Cinemas, if I press the right button, will allow us to look at cutscenes we've seen before. Now, because I've already played through the entire game, I can look at any of them. We don't want to do that yet. Now here's the options. Here we can change the controller, the audio, or the display, but more importantly we can load and save. This game, like pretty much all the games, it is important to save smart and to save often. I'll probably be saving at the start of each chapter. The game is broken up into, I forget how many, I think 8 or 9 different chapters, and each chapter gets progressively more difficult and longer. But let's not worry about that yet. Alright, that is all our options at the moment. No, we don't want to check the key. Let's go look this way. Oh, I punched the door. Because right now she doesn't have any weapons equipped, all she can do is punch. A wooden plaque is fastened to the door, taking the place of the lock. A colored sigil is carved into the wood above a wide slot. The slot is just wide enough to insert a narrow blade. Alright, yeah, you can see that there's a kind of sword on there and a kind of purple-looking rune. Oh, perfect, it's raining out. Well, not in the game. In the game, it's actually kind of sunny. Okay, I do believe that's everything in the kitchen. Sometimes the characters will look in different directions at things of interest. A grand piano stands here, awaiting the hands of a decent musician. Unfortunately, Edward never really lived up to that description, and as such, the piano fell into disuse. The game even took the time to put in a lens flare effect. Some paintings on the wall. The illustration features a collection of strange line designs related to each other in a cyclical manner. There appears to be some significance to it, but it isn't particularly evident. So yeah, you see it goes in a circle clockwise, red to green to blue to back to red, with purple in the middle. And that purple one in the middle, well, that kind of looks like the sigil we saw in the kitchen. That will also become clear later, what those colors mean. Oh, what do you know? What if we just try to leave the house altogether? The call of the mansion beckons Alex, drawing her back to uncover the family secrets it hides. Alex will not leave until she has learned what happened to her grandfather. So even though I guess she can leave whenever she wants, she's not going to. Alright, this is another portrait of another Roivas family member. A lot of the portraits here have the same description, so I'm not going to look at all of them. The door is locked. Now this here is the room where her grandfather's body was found. The warm glow of candlelight, the Roivas family tree hangs from the wall. Shadows filter across its surface, obscuring the detail. But if one looks closely, the family's secrets are revealed. And one thing you can notice, looking at this family tree, is that there is a man hung from it. That probably doesn't mean something good. Well, there is a door over here, so why don't we check this out real quick. They have an observatory. The crank slot is mounted in the telescope and appears to be linked to a mirror supported by a brass pedestal. A curious contraption to be sure. What purpose can it possibly serve? Should Alex adjust the mirror? Well, why not? Right now nothing happens, but she can move it around if she likes. And this one has a mirror too. And there's one here on this wall. Not important yet, but it will be important later. I'm going to be telling you a lot. I'm going to be telling you that a lot. Not important now, important later. Let's just check out every nook and cranny in here. The books in this corner seem to focus on the supernatural. The writings of Poe, Lovecraft, the poetry of Blake, the art of Bosch. Borsch? Everything with a tie to ethereal horror or fantasy. It's all here, a reference library to the arcane. Was this Alex's grandfather's secret hobby? Well, yeah, maybe. He was a D&D nerd. Sorting through the books, Alex sees one that seems to be placed differently than the others, as if drawing attention to itself. Curiously, she examines it. Upon the inside cover, shaky handwriting shapes the numbers 333. She replaces the book. The book contains history of the Roivas family, genealogy, birth and death records, deeds and rights. Writs. The Roivas history is a troubled one. As Mediterranean immigrants, the early Roivases were shunned by other settlers in North America. Suspected of witchcraft, the Roivases were convicted during the witch hunts, forcing them into hiding. As memories faded, the Roivases rebuilt their lives. No, so there's some weird stuff going on in your family history. Yeah, sometimes there aren't any real descriptions for things, you just look at them. This looming grandfather clock seems to stand ominously in the corner, gazing on the empty room with an almost patriarchal air. Use the left and right directional stick to adjust the clock hands. Should Alex adjust clock hands? Well, yeah, of course she should. And we do know an important number. 333. Alright, so 3. There we go. And it seems Grandpa had a secret passage in his study. Yes, punch the door. That's how you open it. Ooh, and an even more secret study. Now, obviously, there's this big glowing book, but we'll look at that last. An aged page set inside a glass frame hangs on the wall. An insane scribbling covers the page, incomprehensible to Alex. Perhaps if Alex had some kind of tome, it could be deciphered. This Gothic cathedral is silhouetted against a stark light. The image is vicious and devoid of subtlety. Every brushstroke echoes the spikes of the architecture, imbuing a violent feeling, as though the building itself is a harsh imposition on reality. A grim picture indeed. This looks like some kind of mask. The face is in serene composure, with a faint hint of a smile tugging at the corners of the mouth and eyes closed in deep meditation. I don't know if it really looked like a smile. A painting of a jungle-shrouded building. It seems to be a temple in Asia, perhaps from Thailand or Cambodia. This bizarre drawing, a cyclopean city, its immense architecture, bathed in an unnatural fog. The detail is incredible. As Alex studies it, she can almost imagine the city's inhabitants. And look what's up here on the wall. An ancient Roman weapon, a gladius, is on display above the fireplace mantel. Another token of eclectic junk. Eclectic junk, actually. And now she has a gladius. Let's check it. This is a gladius, the standard weapon of the Roman army. A short, double-edged sword with a sharp triangular point. The gladius was designed primarily for hacking and chopping at the enemy. It could be used to pierce armor as well. A diabolic drawing of a stack of human bodies, each one cemented into place. What twisted psyche could have executed this drawing? Although disturbing, it is meticulously rendered down to the subtlest detail. The precise anatomy of fractured bones and the convolutions of spines and ribs entwined into a mesmerizing sight. A small shrine of candles. Their placement appears to be very deliberate. Matching the etchings on the table and the wall's illustration, the candles are unlit. Alright, well the only thing left to examine, I think, is this big old book. But we did get a sword. Why don't we equip it and go try using it in the kitchen. Alright, well in this case we actually have to go into our inventory and select use. Alex places the blade in the slot but feels it push back, as if the magic of the blade does not fit the lock. Alright, well I guess the blade doesn't work. But they did say something about magic. I wonder what they mean about that. Alright, let's go grab that tome. A large leather-bound antique book rests upon the cluttered desk. Should Alex read the book? Yes, she should.
I had no knowledge of what was to come, nor did I care. How the knowledge changed me, it will also change you. As you read this, you will come to learn fear as I have. You too will come to understand, or you will perish. To think that once I could not see
it's time for our
beyond
first
the veil
chapter.
of our reality.
The Chosen One.
To see those who dwell behind. My life now has purpose, for I have learned the frailty of flesh and bone. I was a fool.
Oh, that's no good.
Where is Requiem?
Dang it, let me see if I can fix this.
Quam primum, Centurio Augustus. I would like to compliment you once more on your battle tactics. Our enemies did not have a chance.
Alright, seemed to have sorted itself out.
Do you believe that it really exists, Centurion?
I do not doubt our Emperor's beliefs, or his orders. But if we are to retrieve the artifact, then we must be strong and patient.
Alright, so that Centurion here is hearing voices. Alright, so we now have control of Pius Augustus. Now, Pius Augustus over here is voiced by Richard Doyle. Now, Richard Doyle is a actor of stage and screen who has done some live-action work, probably more than I can think of, and his voice acting has appeared in a couple of different cartoons and video games, but most notably, well, at least most notably to me, he was Mobius and Nutraptor in the Legacy of Kain games. And what I thought was kind of amusing is he is the Fury in Metal Gear Solid. The dais on the floor is finely crafted, inlaid with gold and gems that Pius cannot identify. A strong linear design is situated in the middle, and it is equally unknown to the Roman soldier. Now, Pius here has his own set of equipment, which is right now just this gladius. Yep, same thing as before. But something else, his stats are different than the other characters that we will play. Now, the game hasn't really gotten to that yet, but each character will move at a different speed, each character can attack differently. Each character also has their own health scores, stamina, magic, and sanity. So those will get explained fairly shortly. But just understand at this point that each character plays a little differently because their stats are all a little different. A ladder leads into the dank heart of the labyrinth. Danger lurks beneath, yet Pius' courageous resolve does not buckle. Should Pius climb down the ladder? In the chat they're asking, was that Latin they were speaking earlier? I honestly don't know. I don't know what language they were speaking at the beginning of this chapter before it slowly transitioned to English. Oh, what's that, Pius? So yeah, one of those emaciated corpses just stood up. Now I suppose that's supposed to be a look of fear and apprehension on Pius's face. It doesn't quite strike me as that. Alright, it is time to fight. Now, I'm not targeting yet. If I hit the R trigger, I will target the enemy. And then I can cycle through parts of their body to strike. If I do not do that, and I just hit the A button, they'll do their own attacks. And each attack will be different depending on the weapon. Now if you're in a pickle, sometimes just hitting the button like that can be effective. But generally speaking, it's better to target body parts. We also have the option to finish him. If an enemy is downed and not dead, you can walk up to them and press B to automatically kill them. In some cases, you need to do that to keep an enemy dead. Ah, more of them. Alright, so look, we just lopped his head off and his head off. Now they're not dead just because they're headless. They have to take enough abuse until their bodies are destroyed. But in the case of these enemies, being headless means they can't see you. So they're just going to sit there and swing at you. You can also lop off limbs. So for example, lopping off their limbs prevents them from attacking you with those limbs. While most enemies these techniques will be effective on, some enemies react differently to having different body parts attacked. I'll get to show you some of these enemies as we go on, but just keep that in mind. A strange granite block lies on the floor. Alright, this granite block has a red symbol on it. Let's take a look at it. This sharp-edged block of granite, etched on one side with a curious line design, colored blood red. And here are some more of them. Now, this isn't a problem yet, but in some rooms, like the holes will be narrow, or the ceiling will be low, or something like that. That will affect our ability to attack enemies. So, targeting like that will allow us to swing in directions that make it actually possible to hit the enemy. Alright, another strange granite block. Now this one has a green sigil on it. This sharp-edged block of granite, etched on one side by a curiously lined design, colored an insipid green. Insipid green, huh? I wouldn't think to describe it like that. So yeah, right now we're fighting zombies. Pretty stock enemy, but they work. Now these are the standard zombies. We'll find other zombies that are a little different. But I'll get to talking about the proper name for those enemies as we get further into the game. Even though I played this like dozens of times, I still kind of want to approach these games when I do LPs of them with you without trying to give away too much. I want it to try to unfold as organically and naturally, even for you, as possible. Somebody's whispering for us. Alright, and this sharp-edged block of granite, etched on one side with a curiously lined design, colored a ghostly blue. Now, ghostly blue is a bit better. There is a ladder over there. So let's go take that ladder. Yeah, that's one of the things I like, is that the fire, the coals or the wood in these braziers here are actually popping. I think it's a nice little effect. The bars across the door block Pius's exit from this room. Now, if you're real quiet, you can hear the sound of something moving ahead of us. Alright, well, this room has 4 colored sigils. We have 3 granite blocks colored like that. Ow. Oh, alright, the health meter. This meter represents life energy. Every time a character takes damage, the level will get lower. When it reaches 0, the character will die. We're finding out about that because this is the first time we've taken damage. Later in the game, when we start using magic or our mental health, our sanity meter, those will be explained as well. Now, in the case of these zombies, I don't have to finish them. If they fall to the ground, eventually they will die. And there's another thing I think I should mention to you. Normally, if you hold down the R trigger, you'll target the closest enemy. But if you tap it again, you should be able to switch to another target. Now, I think there's something wrong with my controller, so I'm not able to do that. I kind of have to stick with whatever target I'm kind of dealing with at the moment. You can see 2 of the zombie bodies have already disappeared. Given enough time, this one will disappear as well. A strange granite block. Now this one has a purple design on it. This sharp-edged block of granite, etched one side with a curiously lined design, filled with purple and tainted by black shadow. So anybody who's played any video games with even the most modest of puzzles should be able to figure out what we want to do. This wall is predominantly decorated with a strange lined symbol carved into the granite. Cut into the wall is a square hole lined with scratches as though something had been removed from it. Well, obviously it's these blocks of granite. Alright, so back in the next room, the gate has lowered. Now here's something interesting, at least I think this is interesting. Pius, you must prove your worth by destroying this statue. Pressing R will enable Pius to select which target to attack. Releasing R slightly and pressing it again will cycle between multiple targets. Pius can attack specific body parts while locked onto an enemy by moving the directional pad and pressing A. Use up to attack the head, use left and right to attack the arms. Now can he examine this? Yes. This statue is of him. It even has his name on the bottom of it, although it's kind of hard to make out. So, destroy yourself, Pius. You may have also noticed that some of the zombies are different heights. I don't think this makes any difference in the game, but it is just something kind of interesting to note. I don't know if the larger ones are stronger or hit harder or anything like that. A button attached to a small pylon softly illuminates the room. Bizarre energy seems to radiate from it. Should Pius push the button? Of course, buttons are meant to be pushed. Oh, good job, Pius. You locked yourself in here. Well, there's a glowing circle on the floor. Let's walk into it. What could possibly go wrong? So Pius has been teleported somewhere. And he's on this weird platform with 3 different pedestals. And each one is differently colored. Red, blue, and green. Now you can see that there's something on the green pedestal. This is because we're on our 3rd playthrough. If we were on our very first playthrough, all 3 of them would have a different object on it, and we could examine each of them and pick which one we wanted. Now right now, only the green one is available. But this is the point of the game where you make the most dramatic choice. This will affect the rest of the story for the game, and this will also affect what enemies you encounter, and what magic, and what order of magic that you learn. But we are going to pick this green one here, and then we're going to get a cutscene where Pius, well, talks about what just happened. Pius's dialogue is a little different depending on each artifact. I may later splice in that footage, but right now we're just going to see what happens when he grabs this one. An effigy resembling a warped angel shaped from dark green emeralds hovers effortlessly above the pedestal. Should Pius claim this artifact? Well, it's the only artifact he can claim. And here's what's happened to Pius.
Eons have passed since then, and I have learned much. I was once as naive as a child, but now my mind is sharp. With the power of Xel'lotath, I can now read the thoughts of others and make them raving mad with a mere suggestion. Face me, and you shall surely perish. Eons have passed since then, and I have learned much. Chattur'gha's power filled me, invigorating my dead body. With a touch, I could level buildings, rend the ground asunder, and channel power such as mortal men could only dream. Face me, and you shall surely perish. Eons have passed since then, and I have learned much. All at once, I understood. The forces of the multiverse all made sense under the transcending power of Ulyaoth. No mountain too high, no city too far. Face me, and you shall surely perish.